Good evening and welcome to the Fort Smith City Board of Directors study session on this October 28th, 2025. These meetings are being televised live for the benefit of residents who cannot be here with us in person today. At this time, we will go right to the first item on the agenda. Ms. Rice, you're recognized.
Thank you. Yes, sir. This evening, the board will be reviewing 5 departmental capital improvement plans. A capital improvement plan is a tool used to schedule and prioritize major projects over several years. The first CIP plan that will be reviewed is for streets, bridges, and associated drainage. And coming to the microphone is Ben Martz, who is the interim director of our engineering department.
Hello. Before you got a revised version of the 5-year plan. The 10-year plan remained the same. I apologize, I had some numbers that I had mistranslated between the two spreadsheets. Okay, so y'all have already seen this plan. It's basically the exact same plan that y'all saw during the study session. I think there's 2 items on there, one dealing with right-of-way abandonment around the airport, and also Jennyland extension that are the 2 added items. But other than that, with the exception of items being moved from 2026 to 2025 that finished up early, this is the same plan that was presented at the previous study session. With that, I went ahead and presented the 10-year plan here because the original 5-year plan could not contain the plan as was in the previous year due to the reduction of the sales tax. And so in order to be able to show those projects being pushed off into further years, I wanted to be able to kind of show how that would look potentially. And I'm open to any questions or guidance that y'all may have on this.
Okay, thank you very much. This time we'll go to the board. Are there any questions? Director Neil Martin, you're recognized.
Yeah, Ben, thanks for sending this and thanks for the corrected item. You know, I originally looked at this and I had a couple concerns, but let's just kind of level set for everybody. The funding for this CIP comes from where?
This is all the sales and use tax, which is the 5/8 cent.
5/8 cent, right? So you got some 1% at the beginning of the year, and then once we made that adjustment, it's 5/8 cents. So
that's correct. You can see that on the 2025 item where I've shown the 1%, which went through, I believe it was May,
okay,
and then dropped off.
Right. So where we were getting about 30 million, we're going forward, we'll get about 18 million a year.
Correct.
To be able to fund streets and drainage projects. So as I was looking at this, I was going back and forth a little bit because there is at the beginning of 25, there's $51 million there. So that's carryover from previous years, and then also the combination of the 1% and the 5/8% for the year. So it leaves us with the total funds available is 74 million. Looks like we're spending, the expenditures are about 26 million, 27 million actually. And so it looks like we got 27 million, 30 million, 30 million. And I was looking at this and I was just having some questions and concerns about, the spend down of that. But in reality, these are sales tax funds. The expectation is we spend those dollars.
Correct.
And the expectation is we're not carrying over more money than we should because the expectation is the citizens want this money spent.
Correct.
Right. So, so we're carrying over a large fund balance, 51 million. But in reality, when we get into later years, as this fund, or as we get into the remaining 10 years on this, we'll be spending at about 18 to 19, actually in 35. We're projecting, if no major change happens, we're projecting about $20 million. So we start to see that increase as we go. So I think that's important to understand. I just had some questions about the larger spend in the beginning of the first few years, but it makes sense. We want to spend what the citizens have asked us to spend in terms of all of these items. So I think that's important for folks to understand and to know. So when they see spending of 30 and some odd million, when we don't have that much, we're trying to spend that down into the projects that the people want. So I wanted to make sure that everybody's aware of that. And then, so we're not proposing any new street overlays in '26. Is that correct?
Correct. I mean, there's no new projects really in '26. We're basically catching up with what we've done from '23, '24, and '25, and then we're going to reassess with one of the line items for one of the new projects was to go back and reevaluate the roads. Right. With that, they'll reevaluate roads, sidewalks, signs into account to see, how we're doing on everything. And we do that typically every 2, 3, 4 years, depending on what the cycle is.
But when's the last time we did that?
I think it was about 3 years ago at this point.
Oh, okay. I thought in here it was like 2005.
Well, that's for the master plan.
That's for the master plan.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So what's the master plan give me? Is that where I get a rating for all my streets and I know how, what condition they're in?
That's actually the rating project. So the master plan, the goal for that project is we do projections on where we think the city is moving and where we think we're going to want to do major projects in the future. Yeah. And the cadence for that is typically, at least from what I was able to see on historical stuff, something about every 15 years or so. So we're a little bit long in that, with it being 2005, the previous one.
Okay. Yeah. And then the rating, is that the one that we do every 3 years?
That's correct, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it comes up more often just because we want to be able to identify which streets are needing the help.
So when you said, and I'm trying to find it in my notes here, so when you say that we're not adding any new street overlays in 25 or in 26, we're finishing some items in 24 and items in 25. So we'll see work happening. Yeah,
we're still definitely going to be busy. It's
right.
Just we're catching up, and some of that's due to lack of staff. Being a key issue of just being able to get projects out the door at this point. And so with that, as we move along, we'll definitely be staying busy throughout 2026, but we'll also be reassessing. And the new CIP for 2027 will identify new potential projects to bring before the board to review.
And that'll also include overlay projects as well?
Correct.
Okay. I've got a couple other questions. I'll turn it over to some of my fellow directors, but I think I've got some other things here that I want to at least talk about. So come back around to me, Mayor.
Thank you. Director George Casavis.
What's the status on Towson? The status on Towson Avenue with the state?
Maggie, I know that a letter went out talking about utilities and possible truck route and stuff like that, but I don't know what the actual...
Well, now my question is, are we seriously considering taking over Towson Avenue from the state?
My understanding is that's the current plan.
Why?
I don't know what the history is on Towson Avenue for that to be able to answer, but...
Well, the last time it was repaid, which was $4 million.
Correct.
Correct?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
where are we going to get the money to do that?
Right now, it's the bigger issue is not necessarily the roadway funds because the plan was supposed to be a partnership. I believe it was. We're showing $4 million in here for the CIP on the roadway stuff with RDOT taking the majority of the money on that, but the utility portion is the higher expense that's going to be related to the Towson Avenue, and that's where discussions are ongoing at this point.
So would this board have to approve the taking over Towson?
Yeah, that would be my understanding, yes. And any contracts approved would need to be approved to do the actual work along Towson as well.
All right, thank you.
Director Kemp.
Thank you, Mayor. Director George Casavis, I would say the information that I'm aware of, at least at this date, is that RDOT is to reconstruct the roadway.
Yeah.
That was a resurface. And when they reconstruct the roadway and put in sidewalks and fix the easements on each side of the roadway and everything, and as the project is turnkey, done and ready, we would take it on from that vantage point. And then I think Acting City Administrator Jeff Deeman isn't here tonight, but we were awaiting some potential good news that RDOT would have to deal with the water line infrastructure on Towson Avenue because it had predated them installing the roadway. So that's really good news, and we're hopeful that that gets confirmed. I don't know, we don't know that for certain, but that's what we're hopeful of, is that it predates the roadway. So when they built the roadway over it, then it would actually be a positive maneuver to consider as going forward. The question I had was, as we're talking about this, is I hear the staffing, and is there any update from administration on an engineer? I know we had, the administration had zeroed down on somebody. Is that making progress?
Yes, the city did hire a director of engineering, and the plan is for him to start on January 5th.
Perfect. So that'll be good. And then I'm hopeful that we can continue to fill vacancies on that team, because I think that will help this, correct, process?
That'll help greatly, yes.
Wonderful. The concern I guess I have was just the compound effect over time. When we don't take on new projects, then it only further, creates this log of streets that need to be looked at and addressed. Do we have any kind of interim repair or safety measures in place for these deteriorating corridors that would be on the docket but won't be because we're still kind of working on our backlog? Are we addressing that with maybe an interim repair patchwork?
I know that our maintenance group is taking care of potholes and all that stuff. And let me not sugarcoat this. This is going to be an issue in a little while. I mean, because we have something like 500 miles of streets, you really need to resurface a certain number of miles of streets every year to be able to maintain the surfaces on those streets. And, in my opinion, at this point, we're going to have issues down the road on this from just not being able to maintain the number of miles that we need to maintain based off of what we're getting from sales tax. And so there's going to be some decisions that need to be made at some point to, are we going to be rehab heavy and do no other projects, or are we going to try to do other jobs and not do any rehab? I mean, there's some tough decisions that are going to be coming here.
So what are some proactive steps that we could be working on? Is it mainly staffing, the engineers?
No, this is money. This is purely money that you need because, as long as the streets out there for say 20 or 25 years, it's going to degrade. It's you get trucks on it, trucks will tear it up, and so over time you will have to repair those streets. And if you're not maintaining them and doing the overlays or rehabs, then you will have basically crumbling infrastructure, literally speaking. And so, yeah.
I think our current value in that process is our citizens to give us positive feedback because they're the ones driving their particular roadways. Everybody has their kind of set roadways. I know I drive around a lot, yet I still take very common paths. Yeah. Are we still wanting people to report potholes through the .gov on the website, or how do we want people to give us feedback?
I believe a new system's coming out. I don't remember what it's called, but is it a texting or?
Yes, I think Matt Meeker has got some information if you'd like to share.
Yeah.
Coming to the podium is Matt Meeker, who is our Director of Public Works.
Yes, potholes or street damage, they can be reported through through text.my.gov, or they can call directly to our office 784-2360 during our normal business hours and get with us, and we will make a ticket for it and go out and repair it. So,
okay, thank you, Matt.
Mayor, I have a follow-up.
Josh, I'll close out. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for this. Maybe we ask Josh Buffing to continue to post that in social media schedule, just so that people can know how to do that. Thank you.
Let me go to Director Neil Martin, and then we'll come back to Director George Savage.
Yeah, so this is one of the things that I had concerns about when we had the sales tax reallocation, because I know there are streets that are not heavily traveled that were up for resurfacing. I disagreed with the method in which we resurface streets. I know my street, my cul-de-sac was on schedule for resurfacing. It doesn't need it. So I think when we go and look at these, and we've got reduced funding, we look at the streets that need to be resurfaced just because it's hit a time frame. Although the time frame could mean that there's an issue, but just because it's hit a certain marker, I don't think that's necessarily right. I think we just did stuff because we had the money for it. I think we need to really look at them in the right way to make sure that we're ascertaining, does this street need it? My cul-de-sac does not. Like, let's do Phoenix. Let's do, some of these well-traveled corridors, like you said. That's what I want to see when we go and look at our we go evaluate what streets we've got, or what streets we're needing to resurface. I want to make sure that we're looking at it with a fine-tooth comb and making sure that we're resurfacing the right streets in the right time and not just any street and every street because it meets some criteria.
Thank you. Director George Casavas, and then Director Christina.
I'm still stuck on this Towson Avenue. What benefit is it for us to own it versus the state? Well, you just said a minute ago that we have old roads that may not be able to be fixed.
Correct.
So if we spend $4 million on something we really don't have to, I don't understand.
Honestly, I have not been in the decision process on this road here, so I can't account for,
Yeah.
I can't state on, how or why Towson has been selected on that. And so I'd have to point back to administration.
Who did Carl start this? Was this started when Carl
I
was
believe
here?
so. Yes.
Figures. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Director Christina Casavas.
Ben, what is our evaluation process for repaving the roads? How do we determine which roads need to be repaved?
So the rating project that I was talking about that's on, I think it's 1.4 or section 1.4 there. If I remember correctly, we're allocating something like $200,000 next year to do that. They'll actually go through and drive each one of the streets, and they have a camera that basically goes out and measures the cracks and visualizes and then rates based on the known, I guess, quantity of the street itself and gives it a, A, B, C, D, E, F rating. And then during that process, from there, we would take that rating system and then allocate that out on our CIP. And so it should be based on actual data that is provided and not just some arbitrary amount.
Well, it sounds like that may not be the case. Do you think we should be refining our evaluation process so that we get the hardest hit streets first or maybe more often?
That's guidance I would like to see from the board on that. And
Yes.
I think what we do is probably bring the evaluation back, perhaps a study session or something, and let you all review the data and, direct us on how you would like to go forward on that.
And can someone remind me, what was the revenue before the reallocation when this tax first came about? I was thinking maybe I saw somewhere it was about 11 million.
For like 2024 total revenue?
No,
Or-
several years back. I mean, how long have we had this tax in place?
Oh,
Since '85.
yeah, it's been a while.
I was thinking when we talked about the sales tax reallocation that the revenue maybe about 10 years ago or so was around like $11-12 million. Is that correct? Does anyone?
I think when we reallocated it, we took it back to where it was about 10 years ago.
Right.
Yes, that's
So,
what I remember.
so we're and it'll rise over time, but I think it was around 20 million.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Director Neil Martin.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've just got one more question. The Rogers Avenue lighting and electric relocation. I asked
Yes.
Stan this when, a lot of people, there's a lot of people that maybe are against what they're doing on Rogers Avenue. However, are they really going to bury the power lines down Rogers?
That discussion is still actively ongoing.
They need to bury the
Well,
power
and
lines.
that's the intent of that project,
Okay.
is to bury the power lines. And the discussion right now is going on of how we can power the streetlights and how we can power potential streetlights being streetlights overhead that shine down for cars to be able to see, but then also the traffic lights.
Right. Well, advocate as much as possible that they bury those. That would, the aesthetics would be so much better on Rogers Avenue. So do whatever you can. If they need me to talk to them, I'll talk to them.
Okay.
Director Kemp.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. On that note, are they talking about that for the Towson project, or is it just Rogers?
To my knowledge, there is no power relocation for Towson at this point. There's not been any discussion on that, to my knowledge.
That's just too bad. There's a lot of power lines on Towson Avenue. I feel like they all laying low. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I would encourage them to do it as well on Towson.
The big issue with the difference between the two projects are that Rogers, they're looking at doing quite a bit of expansion of the right-of-way,
Right.
which is encroaching on where the power lines are located at, whereas Towson, they're doing very little right-of-way relocation or
Just not as
And so
wide.
there's just not a need for the power company to relocate their lines. And so what we're talking about on Rogers is doing a cost share where, since they're already having to relocate the lines, you know, what would be the difference be to go ahead and put it underground versus doing it above? And it's more expensive to go underground, but, you know, we could pay the difference for that.
Well, if RDOT's listening, please do it on Towson as well.
I think they're receptive.
Very good.
So we're working with the power company directly at this point.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This time we'll go to 1B.
Yes, sir. Item 1B is the 10-year CIP for the Public Works, Street and Traffic Control Department and Sidewalk Program. And coming to the podium again is Matt Meeker, who is our Director of Public Works.
Good evening. So before you this evening is a proposed 2026 through 2035 capital improvements plan for the Streets and Traffic Control Division of Public Works. This plan serves as an outline for vehicle and equipment replacements over the next 10 years and may be adjusted in the future if department needs or priorities change. These purchases will be paid for out of the department's capital equipment replacement fund. For 2026, the department is proposing $1,150,000 in vehicle replacements and a capital equipment replacement fund contribution of $1,204,800. Also before you this evening is the proposed 2026 sidewalk program. For 2026, the department is proposing 3.09 miles of new sidewalk construction and 0.85 miles of sidewalk repairs. Input from citizens, board of directors, administration, and city staff is considered during the development of the program. Requests for new construction were prioritized based on a rating system that considers proximity to schools, pedestrian usage, average daily traffic, connectivity to existing sidewalks, and constructability. Sidewalk repair locations were selected from areas with damaged sections of sidewalk that are also known to have moderate to high pedestrian traffic. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions you may have.
Thanks, Mr. Meeker. At this time, we'll entertain questions from the board. Director Neil Martin.
One quick question for you, Matt. You're now the Director of Public Works, which is consolidating some various departments around the city. I noticed there wasn't anything in here related to water leak mitigation. Is that something that we traditionally see as a part of a CIP, or is that or would that be included with?
Well, no. Normally, what you see that are your larger scale projects with that, and that's included in your water. You'll have a water CIP, and then your sewer, non-consent decree, and then consent decree, and that will be on the November 10th study session.
Okay, thank you.
So, but I can talk about some of that stuff too.
Okay. If Director Kim.
I just want to say thank you for what you're doing, Matt. I'm already seeing some progress, and especially in the Ward 3 when I've been driving around, a lot more activity, a lot more buzzing. I've even heard from residents that have complimented it, so I just want to say thank you for what you're doing. It's making a difference, and the sidewalks, even and around, and places that you guys have added last year are just instrumental for people that are walking. I see them walking daily on them, so good work.
Thank you.
Director Neil Martin.
And Matt, just this is the theme for everybody that's coming up here. Can you share with us where this funding comes from to support this CIP?
Most of the it's the street maintenance fund, which is made up mostly of the state turnback money. So your from your fuel taxes and the highway tax. We also get funding from your property taxes. We get a sidewalk assessment fee that comes in when people get permits. So that's basically where all our funding comes from.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Director Christina Kasavage.
Matt, what happens with some of the assets that you're retiring, some of these trucks?
Okay, so the assets that like the stuff that we replace, generally it goes in what I would refer to as our reserve fleet.
Okay.
And so we don't get rid of them. Usually what we end up getting rid of is stuff that's already in our reserve fleet and pull that out. And that's how building up and keeping that reserve fleet is how we're able to keep working and everything. And so we're able to pull, when something goes down, we're not just, crew's not shut down. We're able to pull something out of the reserve fleet and get them back out in the field and get them back in action. And so, that's what we're doing now, too, with the water and sewer guys, too, is we've combined them in with using our reserve fleet and everything. And so we're using all our reserve fleet to keep, 5 water crews in the field constantly doing water leak repairs, so.
So the things that are in your reserve fleet, what happens to those?
What-
Because I know, like, with parks, I believe it is, they have a truck, I think, that's 25 years old, are some of the assets you have
Those-
more current than what they have? Could that be utilized in different department?
Yes, so those, those will go to auction, but we give other departments a chance to get at
Okay.
those first. And so, if they want them, because by the time we get done with them, they're pretty bad. I mean,
Okay.
but sometimes somebody will want them, and I'm, I guess, kind of a hoarder too. I'm real bad about grabbing stuff from other departments. When it gets out there, I've got it going and goes in my reserve fleet because I've always got a use for it. So, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's nothing else, thank you very much. Thanks, Matt. Item 1C.
Yes, sir. Item 1C is the 5-year capital improvement plan for Parks and Recreation Department. And coming to the podium is our Director of Parks and Recreation, Sarah Deuster.
Good evening. Before you is the fiscal year 2026 through fiscal year 2030 Parks CIP. This capital improvement plan is funded by a dedicated 1/8 sales and use tax, originally approved by voters in 2012 and then renewed in 2022 through 2030. And with that renewal, these sales tax dollars can be used only for parks capital projects. The CIP as presented was reviewed and discussed by our Parks and Recreation Commission during their September and October meetings, and they unanimously recommended to present this to the Board of Directors for approval. So kind of like whatever I did with the Parks and Recreation Commission, it goes through 2030, but for us, what we're really looking at is our projects for 2026. And the main one that kind of stands out that we've had questions about is the $5.1 million for May Branch Greenway. I know that sounds like a lot, but if you flip the page, you'll see that we have almost $3.5 million in grants and contributions. So it's not that much, but it's reflected in that. And with that, we did add a couple new projects that you'll see is the skate park shade at the Riverfront Skate and Bike Park. That's something that had been requested for a few years. We were finally able to incorporate that in. It's relatively low cost, $75,000. And we do have some private contributions that maybe they'll contribute to that. Maybe we can do something like a pavilion. But worst case scenarios, if those don't come through, we have something to provide shade, because right now there is none. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Thank you. Director Neil Martin.
I did have a question about the shades. One of the number of the items talk about replacing of pavilions at various parks, Carol Ann, others. Those are a lot of times those are made with wood, and they wear out with rain and sun over time. Have we thought about something different, like a shade sail, something like that? And I don't know the cost of those things, but there's something that can, as those wear out, they can be replaced fairly easily at a lower cost. What's the thought on that versus building something or have something built?
So for the smaller parks, like what we're talking about at the skate and bike park, 100% shade sail.
Okay.
That would make sense there, but for the larger pavilions, I think they start with Carol Ann Cross Park. I promise you, as long as I'm here, unless the board and administration direct me to, I'm not building a wooden pavilion. They don't last.
Right.
So we're going with steel, and those are something much larger, and you want them to last 50+ years,
Right.
so that will be steel, no more wood. But that's really not feasible in that location because it's heavily wooded. There's a lot of trees, and if a tree falls on that cell shade, you're in trouble.
Okay. Well, obviously the wear and tear, like we're seeing on the screen here. I live near Carol Ann, and so I see that, and people have complained to me about it. So anything that we can do from a cost perspective, instead of, if somebody is willing to donate $75,000 and they want to put something in at the bike and skate park, I mean, we're very much appreciative of that.
Absolutely.
But we would want something that's as sustainable as possible.
Yes.
And shade sails that can, as they deteriorate, they can be pulled down, and something new in its place would be much more desirable. Tell me a little bit about the Portland Loo.
So that is a new concept.
Yeah.
I saw it at the NRPA conference last year and again this year.
Yeah.
This is my words, not their words, but pretty much it's a glorified portable restroom. and you can connect it to your water and sewer, and it is vandal resistant.
Okay.
And I know some of the pictures, if you look online, it 100% looks like if someone's creeping up there, they can look inside. I've been in it.
Can't?
You cannot.
Okay.
And that's something, we're going to have to work with planning and zoning, and of course CBID and Main Street Fort Smith to see if that's an option that would work for the farmers market. But we'll start those discussions this year and make sure that's a viable option, but it's a lot less expensive than $500,000 for a restroom facility.
Right, right. And you can see if there's, you can still see legs, you can see if somebody's laying down in there.
Yes.
So, it was interesting. I did a little research on it, but it was interesting to kind of look at 100,000 for it is less expensive than the bathroom facilities we have at some of the parks. So just keep eyeballs on that. The Portland Loo is not, it's not a definite at this point,
No,
right?
not at all.
Okay, all right. And, okay, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Parks Department?
Let's have a quick one, Mayor.
Director George Casavis and then Director Kemp. Go ahead, George.
Yeah, Sarah, has anybody approached you about the Acme Brick property from city or outside of the city?
Approached how?
But as far as development, whatever?
We have a master plan committee, and we're working through that right now. We've been coordinating with the engineering side. But as far as anything outside of that committee, no, sir.
So the committee's going to recommend?
So they're not recommending per se. What we're doing is getting a conceptual plan of what that could look like. It could look like, and how we incorporate the detention or retention ponds. Right now they're dry ponds. What that could look like, and also sectioning off some parcels, because I know members of the board are wanting to get some money back. What parcels we can section off and consider selling in the future. And we do hope to possibly either in December or January have RDG, the design firm, present that initial drawing and rendering for the Parks Commission, but we could also provide that to the board as well.
Does the Parks Department have the money to fund that?
No, that is why we do not have that money right now. It's set aside, our CIP, and listening to the citizens and the Park Commission and also our staff. We're looking to invest in what we have instead of growing, because we're at a position right now that we can't grow more. So we're investing in existing infrastructure, and there's no dollars for the Acme property.
Growing, you mean by opening new parks or whatever, or capital expenses?
Park expansion that comes for us, anything that would increase our maintenance would be difficult to sustain for us.
Well, let me ask you this. If you were just to shut down the Parks Department tomorrow, how much money do you have in the bank? Okay, just cash money, how much would you have?
This, out of the 1/8 cent sales and use tax, $1.5 million, approximately.
Is that what you're planning on carrying over into 26?
No, we will carry over.
I mean, it looks like you're carrying over 210,000.
Yes, so right now, that 210, what we have right now, that $1.5 million-ish, that's rounded, is what revenues and resources are today, less expenses today. So we still have obligations that are under contract that will expense through December 31st.
So end of the year, $210,000 is
Approximately that much.
if we shut down parks.
But that's just this sales tax. We still have our normal budget.
Yeah, the general fund budget.
Most of our programs are general fund. Our
Yeah.
program 6201 is 85% general fund.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Director Kemp.
Yes, could you speak about the tennis court resurfacing? That's a big project, isn't it?
It is. We kind of did something in 2016, 2017-ish. It was cost effective. It wasn't a sustainable solution, and here we are a few years later. We need to do it right. So that specific project, the lower four courts on the north side, is essentially just a pad, a rubber surfacing pad was placed over that. Well, that surfacing is asphalt. The tennis players, it's not working out. It's raising up from the asphalt. So we're going to do a concrete overlay on those, and then also repair all of the cracking on top of the other four courts. And, we did apply for a grant. The board approved for us to submit that application earlier this year. We hope to find something out maybe in the next month or so if we have that. But it's a very big project.
Are you optimistic about the grant?
I know there were hundreds of applications, but my understanding is we were one of the only applications that really had a see-me project that wasn't like constructing a ramp to a building or something. Ours was more visual.
When you say resurfacing, and we talk about that kind of money, I know it's an expensive project, but is there, at what point do you dig out the bad footing? Or is that including in their resurfacing?
Yes, that is included. So the resurfacing is only taking place on the upper four courts on the south side. The lower four courts, we're doing a complete overlay, new concrete, and then doing a sports court surfacing over that.
Okay, that makes me feel better. I was
Yes,
going to say,
sorry.
things are only as good as the foundation underneath them.
100% agree.
Thank you.
Director Christina Casavas.
Sarah, are there still plans to expand the tennis courts and add 4 more? I'd seen that at one point.
That project was presented. It was presented by the private sector, and the Park Commission was strongly opposed to that.
Okay.
Mainly, I mean, it's going to pretty much take care of all that trees, and that area is already a swamp. And with that, Ben Guerin had plans to expand, and right now, talking with WADA that leases those courts from us, they are happy with what that is. So I don't really see the need to consider that right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. There are no other questions. Thank you very much, Sarah. This time we will go to solid waste.
Yes, sir. Next is the 10-year capital improvement plan for the Solid Waste Services Department, and coming to the microphone is Dwayne McDonald, who is our Solid Waste Services Director.
Good evening. This evening we'll be taking a
Dwayne,
look.
introduce these two guys right here.
Oh, sure will. Got 3 with me this evening. We've got Mitch Parker, who manages our residential
Everybody knows
service,
and loves Mitch.
and Terry Rankin, who manages our maintenance, and Serena Tustin's with us as well.
You're very
who's
lucky.
our,
You're very
office.
lucky to have these people.
I know.
That's Mr. Customer Service right there.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Fully agree with that. And they're here tonight just to help with the presentation and answer any questions that you might have about some of the many things that we have going on. So this plan is it's a 10-year plan, comes out of the 2018 study, and we're going to be looking in 2026 to request for replacements for 5 trash trucks, a large bulldozer for the landfill, a landfill excavator, a skid steer loader, an ancient pickup truck, and some containers and compactor boxes, as well as routing system for our collection vehicles, and a new scale system. Those are all replacements for things that are already in place. With the routing system and the scale system, the routing system actually expired earlier this year, and we allowed it to expire because it was not a good tool for our needs. We allowed that contract to come to an end, and one of the things I appreciate about the team here is they went to manual operations for the remainder of the year, saved a little bit of money by doing that, and in the meantime, we've been looking for a better tool that we can put in place for our routing. We also are looking at replacing our scale system. It's running on very old equipment now. We recently had an issue where we couldn't upgrade to Windows 11 because the software won't work with Windows 11. We can't touch anything at this point. Maintenance for it and service for it is very expensive, and it doesn't integrate very well with our IT and finance needs either. So Serena will tell you a little bit more about that, but that's another thing that we've been investigating, making a replacement. This is all coming from our solid waste sinking fund, which is built up from revenues from our service. So it's money that's already been set aside for the purpose of replacing equipment and doing capital improvements. We're also always looking for opportunities to conserve that fund. We did have on our schedule for this year, we had a lube truck and a knuckle boom grapple truck, which is the bulky pickup truck or dial-a truck that we have going around. And they were in the schedule for 2026, but we determined that the vehicles that we have right now are doing the job, and their maintenance costs haven't gone up yet, so we pushed those to a future date. I think with that, I'll turn it over to Mitch Parker, and he'll talk about our first couple of trash trucks that we're looking to replace.
Good evening, Board, Mayor, Maggie, and Sherry. The 26 CIP plan for residential department calls for 2 rear-loader trucks and an automated side-loader truck. The rear-loader trucks are a 2005 and a 2015 that'll be getting replaced. The 2005 truck will be auctioned off, and the 2015 truck will be used as a replacement in our reserve unit. The 2013 automatic side-loader, it will be sold in the auction, and the truck that we replace will become a backup. And I'm here for any questions. If anybody have any questions about the rear loaders or the automated side loader.
Thank you. Any questions for Mitch? Okay.
Mitch, you mentioned 3 trucks.
Yes, we're getting 1 automated truck and 2 rear loaders.
So we said there's 5. Where are the other 2 coming from?
Those will be in the industrial and commercial.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Speaking of which, our next item is a request for a commercial front loader. The vehicle being replaced is a 2019 model with 156,000 miles on it and a lifetime repair cost of over $180,000. It's getting to the point where the maintenance costs are going up, and it's due to be replaced. The replacement for this is approximately $470,000, and that's not a typo. That's how much they cost these days. It'll be a natural gas-powered vehicle, and we've got a picture of the vehicle being replaced up on the screen right now. I'll cover the next trash truck that we're replacing as well. This is for the industrial program. Roll-off truck. It's a 2013 model with 272,000 miles on it. Lifetime repair cost of about $187,000. And its replacement is approximately $272,000. We also have 3 pieces. Sorry, Josh, I'm jumping around a little bit, but if we can back up a little bit, we'll go over the landfill equipment. The first item that we have in the landfill is a 2022 John Deere 950K bulldozer with 4,379 hours on it. We're looking to replace that with a Caterpillar bulldozer. We think this the replacement is going to be a better fit for our landfill environment. It's going to have a high drive on it, and we've got a photo up now of the old bulldozer and its natural environment. Yeah, it's only 4 years old, but that's about how long they last in the landfill. So we're looking at replacing this with a high drive machine that has a triangular track on it that keeps the motor and the drive system further up out of the mud and the trash and everything that it encounters in that environment. Cost for that machine is estimated to be just over $1 million. Moving along, we're also looking to replace an excavator, which is currently a 2020 model John Deere 350G. It has 7158 hours on it. It's mainly used to dig out soil that we use for daily cover on the working face of the landfill. And it's reached its replacement point. Replacement is about $692,000. And I'll just mention that these machines, as we replace them, If they can be used by another department, of course, they're available. If we, particularly with our collection vehicles, if we need to keep them in reserve as spares, we will do that with a minimal number of trucks. And then the rest of them go out to auction so that we can get some value out of them. And, you know, oftentimes there's somebody who's in the market for a lightly used excavator or dozer. We also have a pickup truck for the landfill that we're looking at, 2006 GMC with 103,000 miles on it, and the replacement is estimated to be just about $44,000. It's about a 20-year-old pickup truck. And one more item, we have a skid steer that I've skipped over, so I'm going to get back to it here. Skid steer that we use in the convenience center and sometimes in our compost area as well. It's a 2019 model Caterpillar with 3107 hours. The replacement cost for that machine new is just over $93,000. And I think that wraps up our trash trucks and our landfill equipment. If there are any questions about them, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Director Kim.
Thank you, Mayor. Dwayne, is that 93,000 in on your yellow highlighted sheet on page 62 in the packet? It looks like skid steer, or am I looking at the wrong section? Or is there more than one skid steer on the equipment list?
Excuse me a moment as I go down the list.
Yeah, I was trying to track with you. Because I don't see a 93 on here at all.
It is. It's about halfway down in the section that has all of the landfill equipment, the dozers and the compactors. There's some fuel trucks and so on. About halfway down, that skid loader is listed. And in the price column, it's listed at $105,000.
Okay.
So, and the reason for that is because between this point and the time when we actually order the vehicle, there may be some tariffs or other things added to it that will, or some price increases after the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
that might affect the price.
That's good. I just didn't see a 93 on the list. I was like, well, I don't see a 93.
Right.
When we talked about the wash bay that was tabled for another time, I got to thinking about this that night, just driving home. There is, and I asked about this administration, that I was like, well, there is a bay to the side that I see. Of course, I don't ever go through it or whatever, but I was told that really kind of washes the wheels of the vehicles. Is there ever any thought about just expanding something that sprays up and higher more but would fit in that space to do more than just the manual washing or to save some time?
We've looked at that. So the washing that we have going on now is really in two different areas, and one of them is the hose rack that I discussed at our last meeting. And we do have the wheel wash on the way out of the landfill, mainly there for the large trucks, is there, so that they're not tracking too much out on the street. It doesn't have an ability to be modified in that way. So what you have there is you have some sprays coming along the side of the vehicle that will help wash off the tires and the wheels, maybe the gas tanks and so on. It doesn't have any spray that comes up underneath the vehicle, though, to knock things off. And in looking at it, it's, you'd put a lot of effort into very little return for trying to upgrade that device.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering, maybe even replacing
Sure.
that device with something of an upgraded look, but, fits there and does an idea of it. So that's something I just wanted to put before you. Thank you.
That could be an alternative.
Director Neil Martin.
Dwayne, I know that you and a consultant came to us with discussions about rate increases and things like that. Does any of what you've got here or anything on the CIP obligate or take into account rate increases?
No, not at this time.
Okay, thank you.
This is, and just to be clear about it, this has already been funded. We already have the money in the sinking fund for this, so they're not directly related.
Okay, thank you.
Director Christina Casares.
What do you mean not at this time?
We haven't taken any sort of rate changes at all into consideration in the CIP program. It's based on our 10-year program as it currently exists, without any modifications to it.
Okay. If there's nothing else, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This time we will go to item 1E.
Yes, item 1E is the Transit Asset Management Plan, and coming to the podium is the Director of our Transit Department, Ken Savage.
Thank you. Good evening. Tonight's study session, item 1E, involves a review of the department's Transit Asset Management Plan for 2025. The plan is a requirement of our grant partners, the Federal Transit Administration. It outlines how we will assess, monitor, and report the physical condition of transit assets used in the operation of public transportation. The executive summary outlines approximately $9.6 million in overall investments over the next 5 years to keep the system in a state of good repair. We anticipate roughly $8 million in grant reimbursements with a local match requirement of approximately $1.6 million to address all projects. In your packet is a summary of the department's active grants totaling approximately $8.7 million in federal funds available to date. The Transit Department receives approximately $2.5 million per year as an annual apportionment to address operations and capital needs. The three major components of this plan involve rolling stock, support equipment, and facilities. Page 143 represents the rolling stock investments planned for the next 5 years. This page provides the most consolidated information pertaining to the condition and replacement schedule for the operational fleet. The large buses, units 67 through 73, are 12-year buses, therefore have addressed the fixed route replacement schedule for the distant future for those specific buses. 3 vans are pending delivery for this year to serve as replacements for backup vehicles for the demand response system. Page 145 provides similar information relating to support equipment. And as far as the 2026 budget, staff is requesting one 35-foot Gillig bus to serve as a replacement for a cutaway with approximately 218,000 miles, and one service crane truck to replace a like-kind vehicle that is approximately 23 years old. Page 146 outlines the facilities owned and maintained by the city as it relates to the Transit Department. The bulk of investments pertaining to facilities is related to the Access Road project, where funding has been budgeted for Phase 1 improvements. Something new and going forward, FTA participates in 85% reimbursement share of all revenue vehicles for transit. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the board?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Hey, Ken, thank you for your time and your work and your leadership. I did notice, I'm just trying to still learn as the new guy as well, on the fiscal 26 budget, when the general fund has that ask for transit, is these dollars separate than those dollars? That like was it 1.9 on the fiscal 26 or 1.8?
Are you talking about the part that's over and above the revenues that we already have? Is that what you're?
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand those. So like I think it's 1.8, 1.9. I can't remember.
Well, actually, we anticipate it to be 1.2 million over and above that will over and above the revenues that we have already with FTA and with the state car rental sales tax and with the fares and all of the revenues combined. We show a need of 1.2 million. That would be the county sales tax portion or general fund portion that would go to the transit budget.
Okay, so is that number, well, I feel like I've seen a number, 1.8 or 1.9, Andy, when we were talking, but are you saying that general funds contribution for bit will be more like 1.2?
1.2 is what we look at after we made the adjustments at the budget meeting with administration. So
Okay, all right.
that's with the capital included.
Now, this 2.2 million for the access road, do you have that in like a sinking fund somewhere so
We've been, that's a
Hold it.
carry forward amount that we've used. That's not included necessarily in the 26 budget. Well, it's included, it's encumbered. It would be encumbered into this year's budget. It's actually in the 25 budget.
So when we talk about that 2.2 would probably come from the general fund as well, correct?
There'll be portions of it come from.
Portions of it?
The local match portion.
Okay, and is that going to be more like a local match of 15, 20% kind of thing?
It'd be 20%.
Okay. That's all I have for now. Thank you, Ken.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other questions, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This time we'll go to item number 2 on the agenda.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, item number 2 is an ordinance, or a discussion regarding an ordinance to establish requirements for a board study session to review new major capital projects over the cost of $500,000, and this was presented by Director Christina Casavas.
Okay. Director Casavas, you're open.
So I drafted this ordinance. It is mainly to serve as a jumping off point for discussion. I was going back and watching the meetings of the discussion around Parrot Island because I kept thinking, this came out of nowhere. And I realized that this never went to a study session. It came directly to a vote, and I felt it was important to put some guardrails in place to curb spending. I wanted to allow for emergency situations, and that was in the ordinance. One thing that I thought about after I had already submitted it to Sherry was, if we have a discussion like we've had tonight on CIP, does it need to come to a study session again before a vote? And, I'm not sure. And so I would like my colleagues to weigh in on that. I would point out that the $2 million car wash we heard about last week at the voting meeting was part of a CIP plan. Sometimes we're presented with these things. It's easy to forget. Maybe it's good to have a refresher at a study session. Again, I don't want to necessarily slow everything down, so I would welcome discussion on that from my colleagues. Thank you.
Okay. Any discussion from the board? Director Neil Martin. You're
I'm definitely in favor of those items that are not on a CIP or a budget, 100%. When I started thinking through this, if we look at everything that's budgeted or on a CIP that's over $500,000, I mean, we looked at a number of those tonight. Do we slow everything down where we're grinding things to a halt? That's the only question that I have. I think this is excellent. That would have given more discussion around the slides and other things. Yeah, I'd be interested in hearing what everybody else thinks about that. I think the ordinance is good. It's just how far do we go on it?
So I'm certainly open to amendments, and the $500,000, that was just an arbitrary figure. We could, make adjustments to that as well, but I just wanted to get something out for discussion, and I did want to allow for the emergency scenario. I think that's been executed really well. I would also welcome comments on the 7-day waiting period. I think that gives us some time to fully understand how that money is being committed. But I would be open to an adjustment to that as well. I just really wanted to get the discussion going.
Director Kemp.
Thank you, Mayor. I like the idea and the spirit of the ordinance. I do wonder, even about if you have a project that starts under 500,000, but then because of inflation or other factors that didn't get factored in, and it rises above it, You know, do we need to think about that part of it? The other thought I thought about, if we not holding up a CIP project, but then I am with you that this is a lot of your hearing information, and then it's like we get caught up in the daily, or our circumstances change down the road. Do we require administration or direct administration to notify the board, you know, by a certain amount of days before we execute something? So those are just the thought in my head too as well about it. I mean, but also the reason I like it, and I would love to continue to chew on it as together as a board, is, as I talked about at the beginning of the year, the thing about the slides or other projects that could come up like this, we need to find ways to build consensus. And what I like about this is it makes you have to talk about it at a study session. And if you can't build consensus, then maybe it's time to call a timeout and pick it back up at another time versus in the immediate moment. So I don't know. Those are just thoughts in my head. You know, I want to move on things we should move on, but at the same time, I want to build consensus where we find that we're lacking consensus.
Thank you. Director Christina Savage.
You know, I want to make sure that something like the water slides does not happen the way it happened last year, because when I went back and I put together a timeline, June 18th, ARM was here to present to the board about the excess tax that had been collected. It was casually mentioned, you know, we need to think about expansion plans. That's on June 18th. By July 2nd, we've got an email from Carl Gefkin stating, when Rick was in town, he mentioned the availability of 5 slides, and he sends a rendering of the 5 slides. By July 9th, we're voting on $2.1 million without any prior discussion. And so that's what I want to make sure that we've got some guardrails that prevent a situation like this from happening again. So I'm fully open to amendments if we need to make those, and you know, I welcome everyone's comments, just as long as we're keeping the spirit of the ordinance alive, that we have that 7-day waiting period.
Maggie, any thoughts on how many, you might not know this, or you might not have any discussion right now, how many projects this would have impacted in 25?
I think just looking at my subject matter experts in the audience, I can safely say lots.
Okay.
Without giving you an actual quantifiable number.
So they're coming to us with items that are not budgeted or not on a CIP that are over $500,000.
Well, talking about if they are on a CIP. So when administration originally looked at this, it was my understanding that these were new items that were not previously presented on the CIP.
And that
So
was
if
my
that's the case,
intention. That was my intention.
So if it's new items, not near as many.
Okay.
And quite frankly,
And if we need to clarify that in, you know, how the ordinance is written, fully
yes.
for that.
So new items that are not on a CIP, not near as many. Probably at, how many would you say, Andy? Do you have a ballpark? This is Andy Richards, our Director of Finance for the city.
I mean, if we think back to the past year, all the large purchases that we did make that were not already scheduled on a CIP, you know, all the streets, the water and sewer projects, the parks, you're not going to see, those projects have been in the works and planned. I can't think of anything in those areas that would be not part of the CIP plan, not part of this presentation that we're doing now. But, you know, we bought the building.
Mm-hmm. That was in the study session.
Bought 2 or 3 pieces of land in the past year.
Yeah.
The slides.
Slides didn't go to us.
There's probably 4 or 5 in the past 12 months that I could think of that would, I think it would just be a handful. I don't think we're going to counter to this on a regular basis. Okay. Things that aren't already part of a plan.
What if we move forward at the non-budgeted, non-CIP items, and then we just, all of us have it in our brains that as we're looking at approving something on an agenda that's over $500,000, the question is, was this on a budgeted item? Was it on a CIP? And we kind of evaluate to say whether we need to make an update to the ordinance to have it be everything at $500,000 or more, if the $500,000 is where we're at. Does anybody have any issues with that? If we kind of dip our toes into it a little bit, put something in place, and then maybe expand it if need be?
No, I'm good with that, because initially, you know, my thought was for new things that weren't budget, that weren't going through the budget process, that aren't coming before us. I mean, in my mind, this would have qualified. This is a study session and it's brought forward on the CIP. It was really for those new items to place some guardrails to keep a similar situation from happening.
So if we made a motion to move forward on this in our next voting meeting, we just need to, I mean, does the item need to be written up? Does it need to go through our legal in order to be able to?
Provide some clarity.
Yes, it would.
Okay.
But I don't see any issue with new capital projects moving forward if that's the board's
Okay.
intent. I think it's a great idea.
Mayor Bigelow?
Yes, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it'd be good to make sure, and I think I'm feeling the spirit of this, like consent decree compliance stuff is not what we're talking about, right? We're going to move on those. We won't have to go to a study session on each of those consent decree items, correct?
Well, if my assumption would be the consent decree, we're going to see a CIP for that here on the 10th.
So then we would cover it by that.
It would be covered. That would be covered there.
And then anything.
But if Lance came to us and said, "Hey, I want to do a $500,000 project at the water at Lake Fort Smith," it's not in a CIP. It's got to come to us, and we've got to talk about it.
Yeah, and another thought was emergency repairs. Thinking about that, like if a line breaks again.
Yeah, what was
that was covered in section 4.
Okay, good.
Okay.
And then we've defined emergency because I wanted to allow for that.
And then what about like any kind of grant-driven timelines that might come up? I mean,
Really, we're only talking about a 7-day waiting period
Okay,
here.
good.
Let's not what if it to death.
I think that's good.
What's that?
Let's not what if it to death.
Yeah.
It's a 7-day waiting period.
Why don't we let staff, Ms. Rice, take a close look at it, and we can work through that and come up with something that we all agree on.
If possible, we would prefer for a November 18th target date.
Do you need any kind of motion in second for it?
2.
We need 2.
Do you want to make the motion, Director Katsavis?
I'd like to make a motion. We place this on the agenda for November 18th.
Second.
Okay. That all we need, Madam Clerk. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, Director Katsavis.
Thank you, and I appreciate everyone's input.
Okay, thank you. At this time, did everyone take a look at the preliminary agenda for November 4th? Sure you have. At this time, we're going to go into our citizens forum. Madam Clerk, would you call the first resident, please?
Yes, we do have several. So first we have Andy Postrick. And each will have 5 minutes.
And we're going to ask everyone to please honor the time because we do have several. Okay?
Thank you. Thanks. Hi, everybody. My name's Andy Postrick. I love living in Fort Smith for the Unified Development Ordinance. I know it's not that popular, but I talk with other zoning nerds online, and compared to what they have, we have a pretty good one. I was just talking to a friend. He lives in Bratislava, Slovakia. They're introducing speed limits on their sidewalks for walkers. And we couldn't do that here, so I'm thankful for that. So I thought that was a really good discussion about things suddenly popping up. Something recently popped up that I didn't hear discussed tonight that I wanted to ask about, and that would be the Jenny Lind extension. Where is that going and why?
Mayor, I have an answer, or go ahead, Maggie.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'd rather hear your answer. It'd be much more better.
So the Jenny Lind extension that's proposed in the, Ben Martz, our interim director of engineering CIP, is from the end of the Fianna Hills subdivision, the Jenny Lind that terminates there, and it would ultimately go south and connect to White Bluff Road. And that's been on the city's master street plan for a long, long time. And it would offer basically residents of Fianna Hills and in that area a way to connect to the southern side of the city without having to go north and then east and then back south again.
Okay. Does that extend into the ETJ at all?
It does extend into the former ETJ, and that was kind of the impetus behind the Jenny Lind extension and bringing it forward at this time, is that we have a willing landowner that's willing to donate an easement to the city.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then going through the rest of the agenda for tonight, as far as sidewalks go, I just wanted to give my positive feedback for the sidewalks group. Two of the projects that I really appreciate are North O Street, and also there's new striping by the highway on 74th, by the hospital on 74th. It looks really good, so thank you for that. As far as the solid waste service discussion, somebody mentioned a rate increase about that, and I also heard recently something about a cost of service study coming up. Is that coming soon?
I think it was already delivered to us a few weeks ago.
Okay, has that been presented to the public at all yet?
Yes, so it would have been on, I can find the date for you, Andy, but it was in a study session back here, so it would have been on a study session agenda. I'll see if I can find it in my notes.
Okay, I would be interested in seeing that. And then also, I just wanted to express my support for the transit department as well. I'm a bus rider, so thank you.
I'm sorry, next we have Barbara Carver. No, okay. Bridget Duncan.
Sorry. I've come to basically talk about the safety of some of our streets downtown. And I know that the Board of Directors have kind of done a plan or had a motion for more safety, more safe Fort Smith. I have seen the sidewalks down 21st, and I applaud that. But one street, an intersection in particular, which I have a lot of problems with, is 21st and Rogers. Now, we all know that our downtown streets are very unsafe, particularly because of those, we have two grid systems kind of coming into one, and they merge kind of on Rogers, so there are a lot of traffic accidents on Rogers, but specifically, just because we have some of these streets doesn't mean we should keep all of them, and what I would like to maybe talk about is how 21st Street is, where it connects to Rogers, is a five-way, but there is South D, that little street where people can sometimes merge onto. I've seen countless times, every single time that I take that road, where people, they want to go onto that little South D Street, and it just ends up causing problems and a lot of accidents. And just because that road is a five-way, maybe we should look about it not being a five-way and just a four-way, and that way it could be a lot safer for cars, pedestrians, because visibility is a lot easier on just a four-way. And also South D Street, it's, that little intersection, it's just behind like Nothing to Wear in that little area. And then there's the Adult Education Center. But in reality, it's just like a kind of easement to get onto South Side, and they should just turn at an intersection. I think that would cause a lot less accidents. But it might be something to look about in the future. I'm just concerned about that specific area because I know that there's a lot of accidents. I see a lot of people running red lights because they can't see people, especially whenever they're, that it makes it to where whenever they stop at 21st, they can't see who is on South. Whenever they stop on Rogers, they can't see who is on South 21st. They can only see that first road, which is kind of like at a slant, and it's just the infrastructure isn't really working there. So in my own personal opinion, I'm sure other people can attest to that as well. And over the course of I've been looking at, there's a lot of accidents, as well as, just pedestrians, and one bicyclist, I believe. So do we have anything in the future to kind of like really address maybe making some of those streets not 5-ways. I also know that South 19th Street and Rogers is a 6-way, I believe. I don't know if we have that in the plan or not. I tried to find something, but I couldn't quite find anything, but I think that would be a lot safer to prevent accidents, because South 19th Street and Rogers and South 21st and Rogers they just have a lot of accidents, and some of those small, tiny roads might not be needed. So I wanted to bring that up to you guys.
Thank you very much, and certainly we will take that under advisement with our streets department. Thank you.
Next, we have Kim Fodge.
Good evening. Before I begin, I would like to publicly thank Chief Baker and the Fort Smith Police Department for quickly addressing a safety concern that I brought to their attention. Many times their work goes unnoticed or unappreciated, and I just wanted to publicly acknowledge and thank them for that. There are two things that I'd like to address. One is the indoor sports complex that's being proposed, and the other is Parrot Island. I think an indoor sports complex is an absolutely great idea and is much needed in the community. However, I believe it should be a strictly private endeavor, and that the city should not have any financial responsibility toward it. The city is currently reviewing the 2026 budget and discussing the need to make cuts because of lack of funding. Pledging to guarantee at least payments of $500,000 on a sports complex, but cutting city services due to a budget deficit just doesn't make sense, in my opinion. If it's such a profitable business venture, as it was stated in the recent Talk Business and Politics article, then there should be no problem getting private backing, and public money shouldn't be needed. I do hope that the sports complex does get built, but again, I think it needs to be a private endeavor and no taxpayer money spent on it. In regard to Parrot Island, recently Mr. Katsavis posted on Facebook a financial report of Parrot Island, and after reviewing that, I have a lot of questions, and I'm probably going to send an email to y'all so I can get some answers, but I'm really confused about a few things. Mr. Katsavis reported that there was the report does not include approximately $170,000 of outstanding invoices, plus a $13,000 still owed to Burton Pools, which would bring the total deficit to $400,000. However, Mr. Dingman wrote that there were a number of unpaid invoices that remain from the operating season, and due to the non-budgeted expenses, there's not cash in the park's operating fund to pay for them. Were we able to determine if these outstanding payables were already included in that operating report, or if they're in addition to that money that was owed? Another thing Mr. Dingman mentioned was that the loss was due in large part to the loss of 44 planned operating days due to the weather when the park was closed. Per the report, the 2025 attendance exceeded the 2024 attendance, but the revenue was less than 2024. Actual operational days for 2025 is only 8 days less than actual operational days in 2024, which is not that significant, at least not enough to warrant an exorbitant increase in operational expenses. So the excuse that AMR gave, that 44 days of less planned operational days, just does not make sense to me. Some of my questions is, the county and city are obligated by the agreement to equally share responsibility, providing funds to pay for the outstanding bills from the park's operating season. Did Parrot Island inform the city or the county prior to these expenditures? If not, why not? It's my understanding that reports are provided at the end of the year. If this is true, I think this needs to change. Monthly reports beginning in January needs to be provided to the board as expenses occur outside of the operating season for repairs, maintenance, training of employees, etc. If not already done, I believe monthly updates need to be provided outlining the repairs and maintenance issues, expenses, attendance, and other pertinent information that affect operations and finances. I also believe that since the county and city are responsible for providing funds for covering these costs, approval from the county and the city needs to be received prior to work being performed or purchases made, especially if they are unbudgeted and exceed revenue. We are responsible for paying these things, and we shouldn't be left with outstanding expenses when we don't have money to pay for what we have right now. Thank you.
Next, we have David Roberts.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to you tonight. I'd like to comment on the Parrot Island slides also. I supported the board's decision to purchase these slides. I was pleased that the board chose to go ahead without the county's participation. I'm very disappointed to hear that we need an additional $2 million to install the slides. At this point, I don't think the city should commit any more funds to the slides. Maybe we can find a buyer for the slides. Maybe we can look at a new contractor arrangement with the Parrot Island operator and let them install the slides. The board has a difficult decision on your hands, and I hope you will be able to find a reasonable solution. But as to that solution, I have heard a suggestion that part of the money could come from the Parks Department CIP. As you know, at this time, the Parks Department is on a roll. With your support, the Parks Department has rebuilt Creekmore Park Bathhouse, improved walkways, boardwalks, splash pads, playgrounds, and yes, bathrooms at parks throughout the city. I serve on the Parks and Recreation Committee, and in that role, I appreciate the opportunity you have given me to serve in an advisory capacity to your decisions related to the city parks. I am very protective of the city parks and our existing parks. I am asking you not to take any consideration of taking money from our existing parks to pay for the slide installation. The park's capital projects are funded by dedicated taxes approved by the Fort Smith voters. Those funds are the lifeblood of our parks, but they're limited. Please don't give away any of that funding for the slides. As always, I thank you for your willingness to serve on the board. You give up your time and energy to face sometimes difficult decisions for the betterment of the city. Thank you.
Next, we have Dan Williams.
Good evening, Board. I appreciate the time. I just want to say again, y'all have already heard about the water slides. I'm in agreement with what's already been said. I don't think we need to put any more money into it. I'm going back to when it was voted on. There was a large group here that were all against it, and everybody kind of voted for it. And I may have this wrong, but Neil and George were the only one. May have been Levon that voted against it. Christina?
I've been a no all along.
Okay, well, because I remember you voting yes, and I remember that Joey was here and he got on to you. And
no, that was about the sidewalk plan. I've been a no every step of the way on the water slides.
All right. Well, I appreciate you clearing that up, because I believe that going back to what you proposed to the city and accountability to $500,000, I like the intent and I like the idea. But if you as a board would hold directors and hold people accountable, I don't know that you would need that. I believe that part of the problem is y'all haven't stepped up and done your job that we put you in position to do of holding people accountable. I want to trust the leaders in this position. I want to trust y'all. But whenever I was here last week, the wash station come up and Jeff Dingman himself said that all of it included the price of the equipment and the building. And we had a man stand up here right behind him and said, no, it didn't. And so what he said basically was not true in that moment. And I can understand we get caught up in moments. and say things that we don't mean, but it's caused a problem in this city, and there's one way to solve it. Do you know how it is to solve it? For you to lead and you hold people accountable to what they say and what they do. And going back to the water in Arcoma, I haven't heard anything about the water in Arcoma. Have we got that solution fixed? Have we got money? Has the increase happened? Do we have any news on that?
Increase is in place.
Increase is in place.
They're not paying the full bill.
They're not paying the bill. Are we going to do anything about it and hold anybody accountable?
Yes.
You are?
The rate is the rate.
Yep.
The expectation is they pay the rate.
Okay. All right. I don't know. I was at the school board last night. We have 450 less students enrolled in Fort Smith schools. It's a $1.5 million deficit that they're facing. We have issues that are going beyond this issue, but it all ties together. And I love Fort Smith, and I believe y'all do too. I believe that there is a time that we can look at these things and understand if we're still funding the convention center of $1 million a year, if we're funding the animal shelter of somewhere around, is it still $1 million a year? That's $2 million a year. I think there, it's easy to spot some of the waste. It's easy to spot some of these things. We need to take some serious looks and look at accountability and how we're going to hold people to these things. Thank you.
Next, we have Richard Medford.
Good evening. I have a few questions that I feel are concerns on most of our minds as Fort Smith citizens. If this trip to the Capitol was a must, my questions are to each of you was there agenda for the city gain, and were any questions asked posed to the representatives that represent the state in the government there? What I'm asking is, were questions asked about infrastructure, water, sewer, drainage, the elephant in the room, the consent decree? I feel like that's kind of paramount, bouncing off what Dan said. We're all in the city, we're all in the same book, but we're not all on the same page. I'm not looking for thesis answers or anything getting off of these specifics. Just honesty to know where or if this board has a focus on anything besides entertainment. I'm talking about water slides in the convention center. Things are snowballing and leadership is paramount. We trust you. We come here. I've been here for almost 2 years. I listen. I hear the haphazardness going. You all have to get a hold of this. I don't know how, but you do. You've been here a minute. I'm going to close with show us you're doing what's best for Fort Smith. I left my email and my phone number on the paper that I turned into Sherry, and I would love to talk to each one of you individually or in a group.
Mr. Medford, I will say the primary thing we talk about is infrastructure. Now, this trip, we talked about an F-35 mission and the items associated with that. But I do want to make mention of the dollars that have come back to us from our federal delegation is over $500 million. Majority of that comes from for the F-35 mission. A lot of that comes for I-49 in our area, but we've gotten multi-millions of dollars from them for stating our case in front of them, whether that be streets, water, a number of different, we've gotten money for transmission lines. So
with this new government that's in place, I'm talking about in Washington.
This was our first time to go up there to talk to them when Trump was in office.
Right. What I'm hearing is you have made headway with this new administration.
I mean, yes. Okay. But think about it. $500 million is coming to Fort Smith, has come to Fort Smith and will be coming to Fort Smith.
I am stuck on $800 million consent decree. Okay. I'd love to talk to you in person.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to get $800 million, but we're going to get we're getting dollars.
What I'm saying is, let's start where the crack is, fix it, and go forward.
I agree.
Okay.
Next, we have Quentin Cunningham.
Good evening. Thank you for hearing us. First, Christina, I wanted to say I'm fully behind your proposal earlier, but I did have one question. Is there any way that makes sense that you could say, differentiate between something that's, for lack of a better term, essential versus non-essential, so we could avoid the Parrot Island thing again?
Well, I did put some definitions in there of what qualifies as essential, affecting public health and safety.
Okay, sorry, it's kind of hard to read back there.
We did.
Okay, yeah, I see it from here.
I worked on this with my attorney. He helped me with it, and we made sure to, I think the city gets into trouble a lot with ambiguous contracts. So I try to be really specific with the language and outline what an emergency situation would be.
Perfect. I think you're on the right track.
I know we do have water main breaks, things like that, that are emergency situations that we have to address quite quickly. But it says emergency means a condition posing an immediate threat to public health, safety, or property requiring urgent action. Who's doing this? Urgent action as determined by the city administrator and approved by a 2/3 vote of the board of directors.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Like I said, I think you're on the right track with that. This also isn't what I came up here to discuss, but I did also want to bounce off the lady who was talking about 21st Street. I do live right off that corner, except I'm on B Street, and yes, it is awful down there. B Street is where North Side is, and we have a bad problem with speeding and people just not checking either of those intersections. I work in law and personal injury. I've had to go out of my house on days that I'm off to assist people who have had a wreck in my driveway, and it's concerning. So I'm fully behind her. Yeah, it's bad and definitely needs to be looked at. But the main thing I wanted to discuss was the whole Parrot Island issue, because personally, I have an issue with the optics behind it all. Because as I had spoke to you guys before, I think back in March, I formerly was homeless in Fort Smith. So I'm kind of tired of seeing our city basing a lot of our choices like this on potential profit from tourism. These water slides, they've come up short and now we're doubling down. Why? We didn't have this kind of energy for animal shelters, homeless solutions, things like that. Those are not amusements. Those are afflictions that affect our city. But they're met with resistance so intense you would think that we're debating a declaration of war sometimes. Like you said, Christina, it was brought up and approved in no time. A few years ago, I saw Next Step go through months and months and months of planning and, excuse me, I'm at this passionate topic. They eventually withdrew their proposal because of just the backlash they got. And I don't think that's acceptable. I mean, there's no easy solution, but as a reminder, former Director Martin voted for those slides, and then in August of '24, I can't remember exact which date it was, but he said that we did not have money for an animal shelter right after spending all this money on these slides. I'm not good with that. A city's not judged by potential tourism revenue, it's judged by how we treat our most vulnerable people. As I said, at 26, I was homeless in this city. The message I hear from it's chilling, and it says that profit and pleasure are far more simple calculations than compassion. If we continue down this path, we're going to be forfeiting the soul of Fort Smith, and that's not something we can buy back with tourism revenue. Thank you.
Next, we have Molly Echeverria.
Good evening. I'm here to speak plainly about an issue that should concern every one of us, no matter our party, race, or political views. On September 16th, this board held a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk, who was brutally assassinated just days earlier. It was a simple act of civic respect, but Director Good walked out. He only returned after the prayer was over. Let me be clear, I don't care what Mr. Good thought of Charlie Kirk's politics. That's irrelevant. This is about decorum. This is about professionalism. This is about understanding that when you hold that seat, you represent your constituents and this city, not just those who share your views. Walking out wasn't a silent protest. It was a public statement made on our time by our elected official, and it sent a clear message: your loss doesn't matter to me. Walking out fueled voices in our community to hurl labels like racist at some, including myself, simply for objecting, all because one director couldn't stand still for 60 seconds. Mr. Good has every right to his opinions, just like the rest of us, but he could have acknowledged the fact that Charlie Kirk was a human being sharing his beliefs, and he died doing so. He didn't have to agree with Charlie Kirk's views or ideals. He could have simply recognized that he was a husband and a father, now unable to be there for his wife and his children. Instead, Director Good poured gasoline on the fire, implying that anyone who objected to his walkout was the real problem. I'm not here to debate Charlie Kirk's politics. I'm here to demand we deserve better from our leaders. We deserve officials who don't turn solemn moments into acts of defiance. We deserve leaders who show respect for those with differing beliefs. We deserve a board that models civility, not chaos. To the rest of the board, hold him accountable. Set the standard. Because if we let this pass, we're telling every future director that it's okay to stir the pot, that it's okay to sow division. We are not divided because Charlie Kirk was honored. We are divided because one leader refused to honor the office that he was elected to. We deserve leaders who stay in the room. Thank you.
Next, we have Crystal Cadelli.
Good evening, Board. Well, I feel like an echo tonight because many have been here stating the same thing that I had prepared to speak on, which is the financial strains that this city is facing. You know, we are already facing a $10 million deficit. We are asking our departments to cut corners and to try to cut their budgets any way they know how. But we can spend $6.8 million erecting a water slide for a park that's already losing over $300,000 annually. We subsidize the convention center at $1 million. We still have the EPA hanging over our heads. That ends in 2026 without a resolution. So, you know, us the people think that agreeing to a 30-year tax extension fixed the problem. But in reality, we don't know if it did or not. We don't know if it's going to give us enough money in the end. We don't know if the EPA is going to give us an extension. You know, now we're proposing a sports complex that should ultimately be a private business venture, not a city venture. We have lots of sports fanatics that can financially support a complex if it was worth their money, and it hasn't been. So that should tell you that the city has no business financing it. I also do want to talk about, the city has faced 2 lawsuits for FOIA violations already. The FOIA process is intended to provide transparency between the government and the citizens. If public officials have nothing to conceal, then they should have no problem with citizens requesting the information. It is discouraging to have a director go on multiple social media pages discouraging and bullying a citizen for requesting public records. And I know Mr. Rigo didn't show up tonight, but I think that it's very unprofessional, and I think it is another embarrassment for our board. I also want to say that going back, tourism isn't the answer to our financial problems. Jobs are the answer. We need businesses to move into Fort Smith, and we need a mix of blue-collar jobs, we need white-collar jobs. We need people moving here and paying taxes instead of moving out. And what I want the people of Fort Smith to realize that we are the ones that pay the deficit. We pay it either in tax dollars or we pay it in water and sewer rates. So that's why I get up here every chance I get and beg you to make good financial decisions for the people that put you in those chairs. Thank you so much.
Next we have Chris Cadelli.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to the board. I would like to start by just quickly thanking Directors Martin, Christina, and George Katsavas for their continued efforts to protect the taxpayer from the ongoing water slide fiasco. I also went back and watched some videos from 2024 just to kind of refresh my memory. And there was a lot of misinformation at best and possibly even deception at worst. I would encourage people that are worried about the water park fiasco to go back and watch some of those videos. It's a real eye-opening experience. The other thing I wanted to talk about tonight was when it takes a FOIA request to confirm a rumored conflict of interest, we have a serious trust deficit. I mean, I don't know why it takes a FOIA request to vet something like that. I mean, to me, it's just common sense. If there's a board member involved with some type of a private endeavor that could possibly require tax funds, that should be disclosed immediately, right on the front end of the process, not require a bunch of rumor and talk about it and then have to FOIA to bring it out, bring it to light. Let's see. Mr. Rigo went to social media and made a big deal about this FOIA request. I'm sorry, I lost my spot here. Basically, one would think that this FOIA request involved something, with the JFK files, the way he reacted on social media. Those waiting on bated breath for Mr. Rigo's vaunted return to social media can thank this FOIA request for his return. Mr. Rigo clearly appeared in damage control mode today over this FOIA request, and quickly defended his lack of transparency by noting he told anyone who asked, that this was his brother-in-law. Does that sound like transparency? How does the public have any idea who may have thought to even ask? There's been no public mention of the conflict of interest in any of the news reports on, Talk Business or otherwise, regarding the proposed complex. Mr. Rigo went on to discuss the FOIA request as, this was mere drama. The only drama I've seen was generated by Mr. Rigo and a handful of his supporters. Mr. Rigo is easily triggered by any pushback or scrutiny of his positions. We witnessed this recently when Director George Katsavas had the audacity to question dollars that were being spent with a D.C. lobbyist. And then again, of course, today with this FOIA request. To be clear, I'm not opposed to the sports complex. I, too, would love to see that happen with private investors. I am opposed to the idea taxpayers are being asked to subsidize another private venture at a time when we're struggling with painful water and sewer rate increases that for some folks resemble a car payment. And then, of course, we have the projected $10 million deficit and spending cuts that are being, asked to take place throughout city departments. So I just think it's a terrible look to ask for another subsidy. Thank you for your time.
And the last speaking is Talisha Richardson.
Great evening, Board. I want to first acknowledge not only Andy, but also Bridget and Michael in the audience. These three individuals have worked tirelessly to put themselves out there with regard to our streets being safe for pedestrians and cyclists. And sometimes we fail to remember that there are a lot of individuals in our community who choose to ride public transportation, who choose to ride bikes, and that be their form of transportation. So we can't lose sight on that. The reason why I'm here is to acknowledge some of the comments that were in the past. As the current president of the NAACP, I would like the board to listen to something that I would like to read to you. And for those members in the audience, our mission is to achieve equity, political rights, and social inclusion by advancing policies and practices that expand human and civil rights, eliminate discrimination, and accelerate the well-being, education, and economic security of Black people and all persons of color. As the NAACP, this is their mission. It is also the City Board of Directors' mission. They have a mission. They are to govern the city's operations by setting strategic goals, providing financial oversight, and appointing a city administrator to lead their day-to-day operations. Director Good has and is, until his term expires, serving the city of Fort Smith and Ward 2 in his capacity to the fullest. He has been elected. He has been elected. There are people that don't feel as though Director Good has rights. He is an American citizen. He, a black man on your board, is an American citizen just like each one of you and the people that are in this audience. He deserves respect like each one of you and the people in this audience. He has rights. He has freedoms. His freedoms are freedoms for everyone. He exercised his freedom, just as though Director Neil Martin exercised his freedom for a moment of silence. He had every right to do so, and he did that. No one came in opposition to Director Martin when he asked for that, not a soul. So why do we have a separate and distinct standard for a person of color that chose not to adhere to that? As a follower of Christ, I worship Jesus. And the Bible tells us to put no man before him. No man. No man. Freedom is on everyone in our community to respect the freedom of others. Agree, disagree, but let's be civil. Let's be civil. We have a community that does not have to fall victim to federal shenanigans. Our community is better than this. And I think each and every one of us deserves civility in a public place. We deserve civility on our streets. And all of us, have a right to be in this room and exercise the freedoms that are present for everyone, especially if you're standing on the thing called the Bible. That's all I have to say. And please, please respect your fellow directors. You have no control of this. You have no control of this. Don't buy into the circle of trust, distrust, and the circus. Treat everyone with civility. Thank you.
That's all.
Okay, thank you. If there's nothing else to come before the board.
I do have one item.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I do have one item. If the budget hearing that was, I think, slated for November 14th in 2024, is that correct, Sherry? I know that there has been some issues around that date, and if the board is inclined to move it to November 17th, we will need 4 to place it on the 17th, please.
Can we get 4 hands?
Did that date work for everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We need 4 to.
What day is the 17th?
It's a Monday.
It's Monday, November 17th.
I'm good with it.
Okay, we
I'm
have
good
1,
with
2. Here we go. Directors Kemp, Directors both Casaveses, and Director Sell, and also Director Neil Martin.
Thank you.
Will that be here at the blue line?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What time? 8:30?
I think that's the plan. 8:30, is that okay with everyone?
Okay, thank you. Director Kemp, you recognize for me?
Yes, Mayor, I was asked to just make sure to keep an announcement out in front of us that Keep Fort Smith Beautiful, a city group, has a citywide trash cleanup this Saturday. And any volunteers that would like to be a part of that are to meet at 9 a.m. at the lot in front of this building, the Blue Lion, to get supplies for Keep Fort Smith Beautiful. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Director Christina.
Well, if we're having an officials forum, I do have something. I was contacted, I attended a town hall on food insecurity last week, and, I really learned a lot about the the services, the different people that provide the services. And I was contacted about if the city could create some sort of committee or task force. They're not looking for money, but what they're looking for is coordination. We have a lot of nonprofits here working. We've, the food bank, the food pantries, everything's not necessarily coordinated, and they were hoping maybe the city could provide a place or some guidance for them to be able to do that here in town. So that's something I hope we can talk about going forward, because we have nonprofits, we have churches, we have the different services, but they're not necessarily coordinated.
Maybe we could give this some thought. Maybe we could contact the United Way, because many of these agencies are associated with them, and they might be able to help us coordinate. I think they may have the staffing and the volunteers to do something like this.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you very much. If there's nothing else, Director Good.
Thank you, Mayor. I was asked to just to give a shout out to Neighborhood Services, in particular, a gentleman named Lee Holland. I believe he's one of our inspectors. Mr. Holland has helped this one individual and this whole neighborhood actually answer a lot of questions and get some things done. I wanted to also thank Matt Meeker for your performance at your new position, getting staff out into the neighborhoods, particularly on the north side. People are sending me pictures of your staff out on the weekends and in the rain. So we want you guys to know at the Street Department, Neighborhood Services, and Solid Waste that you're very much appreciated, as well as the rest of our departments. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Thank you very much. And let me just add, the guys at Neighborhood Services, they go out of their way to work with residents when there is an issue. And just recently had one about trees being destroyed by gas leaks and what have you. So thanks, Sean, for working with the residents, and we thank the people over at Summit Energy for participating in resolving that issue. Okay, if there's nothing else, thank you very much.